just to kind of clarify, when you have so many different names meaning the same thing over that much time, it can become complicated. And it's my job here today to simplify this as much as possible. And for all the age groups that are listening right now, separation is probably the most current description of what they talk about in the golf swing. And it doesn't mean you can't play golf really well without having a lot of separation. And separation basically just refers to what kind of rotational movement you can take from your upper body while keeping the lower body quiet, and vice versa. What kind of rotation you can do with your lower body, keeping the upper body quiet. So if you want to take I'm going to take two sticks just so you can see, and stand at a dress position for like a 5-iron. I put the lower stick here on my hips and the upper stick. So someone who has really good separation, you're going to see the lower stick stay somewhat parallel. It's going to turn a little bit, but the shoulders are going to turn a whole lot, creating what they used to call many years ago a coil. In the 80s they called it loading up, kind of like a spring action. Then it became the X factor, and now we call it separation. So what I'm going to do here today in a very simple way is show you some yoga application to getting yourself to maybe find a little more separation. Now what it spells out for you in your golf game primarily is just going to be maybe some more power in your game if you're looking for power. And that can be a little bit misleading, because power doesn't necessarily mean a lot of separation, but it also includes sequencing. So if the sequential movements of your body are way off, it really doesn't really matter how much separation you have in your golf swing. So the sequencing, just to keep that real simple, just think of the numbers 1, 2, 3. So 1 would be slow, 2 would be medium, 3 would be fast. Okay, so your hips would be 1, 2 would be your shoulders, and your club head would be 3, which tends to move the fastest. It always moves the fastest in the golf swing, and it's our job in good sequencing and good separation to find a matching up of those 3 speed zones. So we have the slow, we have the medium, and we have the fast. And so if we can dictate everything from the slow part of your swing, which is the lower body into the ground, and let the fast stuff follow, probably going to find good sequencing. Typically the amateur tends to swing 3-2-1. They tend to swing from the fast part first, shoulders, hips come last. Sometimes they're not even involved because they get left in the dust because the hips are not able to move that fast. So it's a good tip for me to give you right now is to try to work on your pace of your swing all the time. Your tempo is probably going to be the heartbeat to a good consistent game. So what we're going to do here first is we're going to start down on all fours. Face on, you're probably going to see me a little better here. And so we're going to do a position that's going to isolate our lower body and rotate our upper body. So we're going to take the right arm straight out, and as we thread it right underneath the left arm, we're going to bring our head down to the mat or a block, and we reach forward with the left arm, and we stay here for about 6 to 8 breaths, opening up that left side waist with that lengthening of the left arm. Activating a lot of that area of your swing is only going to help you for impact purposes, which is one of our videos we did a couple of weeks ago. And after about 6 to 8 breaths, nice and long, 6 to 8 cycles, we come back up into neutral and get balanced. Shoulders over wrist, hips over knees. Take the left arm straight out, and as we thread it underneath our right arm, we come down onto the left side of our head, and then we reach forward with our right arm for 6 to 8 breaths, nice and long and slow, and try to let go of any resistance you might have in this position, because it's just going to allow that right side waist to open up and your upper body to rotate. And then we come back to neutral.
Starting in this table position is a good home plate to start from. So now we're going to separate the other part, which is our lower body, keeping the upper bar squared off. We're going to add in a little bit of core work. So we're going to bring the right knee towards the right wrist, swing the right foot out to the left side of your mat, and just sit back. And as we sit back, bring the left knee into your right heel and just try to feel as balanced as you can in this position. Once you feel balanced, we're going to walk our hands forward. Once we get them towards the top of the mat, you can't go any further. We're going to walk them over towards your right. Once we get over here, we're going to allow the elbows to come down, palms facing up. Try to find equal pressure applied in each elbow. Once you've done that, we want to take 6 to 8 breaths here. Now what I always like to do, because I'm really big on emphasizing frontal plane of movement, which is the lengthening of the side waist, right after we finish the 6 to 8 breaths here, we're going to take the left arm up and bring it over the left ear, creating that nice long line from our left fingertip right down to our left hip. And we stay here for about 3 to 5 breaths. And then we bring that elbow back down. Walk the hands in a little bit, out to the front of the mat. We'll come back to neutral, which is our table. And now we'll bring the left knee towards the left wrist, swing the left foot out towards the right side of your mat, sit back, bring the right knee to the left heel, find some balance here. Try to get the shoulders squared off before you start reaching forward. Once we come forward and with our hands walking forward, we're going to walk them over towards the left. And then from here, we're going to come down onto all four, our forearms, palms facing up. You shouldn't feel a lot of strain in this position if you have your shoulders directly over your elbows. It should feel actually pretty stable, but trying to find equal pressure in each one is important. 6 to 8 breaths in this position. Once we've done that, we'll bring the right arm up and over the right ear to get some length on the right side waist for about 3 to 5 breaths. Really good stretch. This is a really good stretch for separation. It will definitely increase your ability to do what we spoke about earlier, which is rotating one part of your body while keeping the other somewhat quiet. It translates into more power. However, never forget your sequencing and your tempo. Now once we get back to neutral here, we're going to get a little bit more dynamic, engage the core a little bit, and come up into downward facing dog. And we're going to do another separation, but it's going to require a little bit more. Going to take the right leg up high, engage the right foot, bend the right knee, fold it over towards the left, opening up your right side waist, keeping the shoulders squared off to the top of your mat for 6 to 8 breaths. And then we bring it back down. We switch sides. Make sure you keep that leg engaged. Pull the toes in towards you, heels away. Bend the knee. Fold it over towards your right for 6 to 8 breaths. And then straighten it out. Drop it back down. And come down onto all fours. And then fold back up into a seated position. Now separation, hopefully you have some clarity there. It's not very complicated. What complicates it is the evolution of the different names that are talking about the same thing over and over again. So you choose your term. I remember back in the 80s when I started teaching, the big thing was loading. I think you used the word loading, which had a lot to do with the separation. So
In that position, we're basically just trying to get the left shoulder over the right toe, which would give us some separation. Hopefully this clarifies a lot. I am so happy I was able to share some of this information with you. Last week we did the topic on alignment, and next week we plan to go into swing plane. And that's very important with regard to this part of the series, because if you have a lack of separation in your body, you can do things to improve a better swing plane. And all that means is being able to swing the club from inside the target line. Anytime the club swings outside the target line, there's no power, there's no solid contact. And so sometimes people blame lack of separation on that, but I'm going to show you a way to overcome whatever limitations you might have in that area and make it even simpler. It's my job to make it simple for a teacher, and so I'm looking forward to that, and hopefully you go out there and keep things simple as well when you're playing. Thank you so much.